Welcome to Seesaw Idea Share for grades 3, 4, and 5. We are so super excited that you are giving us your gift of time this evening to view and learn and grow from this amazing panel of teachers. They're here to share their Seesaw ideas with you, and hopefully you can even jump in and share one of them with your students tomorrow. We have a few housekeeping things to start with. The first thing is that you are going to be getting an email that includes a recording of this webinar along with the slides that are here for any resources you might see, and you are going to be getting a certificate for viewing. So if you are watching live, you will get all three of those things in an email. If you are watching this in a recording, you do need a 6-digit code that will allow you to get this certificate of completion for your half-hour time today. So again, if you're watching through a recording, you'll need a 6-digit code. If you're watching live, that certificate will be emailed for you. You get the Easy Pass today and no code necessary. So recording folks, please write down 896. There will be 3 more digits later in the webinar. My name is Kara Brem. I'm coming to you from Cary, North Carolina, right outside of the capital city of Raleigh. I'm a Seesaw ambassador and a former 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teacher for 19 years and former 7th grade math teacher for 2 years. I've used Seesaw in both my 4th grade and my 7th grade math classroom for the past 4 years, and currently I'm an instructional facilitator in a middle school in Cary. You are more than welcome to connect with me at Mrs. Brem Tweets on Twitter and at Mrs. Brem Math on Instagram. And I'm going to be your host today because we have some amazing panelists here who are willing to share their ideas for your students in your 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade class. If you're here live and have any questions, you can simply type them in the question box. There will be a time for questions at the end, and we are going to make sure we answer them, but let's get rolling. Here's our plan for today. We have Heidi, Fran, and Brenda, fabulous teachers, ready to share with you the first post of the year that they have. And they even have a few more ideas in their slides, along with some links that you can get when you receive the slides in your email. There'll be some time for questions and after they discuss their ideas. And again, if you have questions along the way, don't hesitate to type them in the webinar question box for our live viewers. All right, welcome, Heidi.
Hi, thanks. I'm Heidi Samuelson. I live near Elvis's home in Memphis, Tennessee. I've been a Seesaw ambassador for several years now and just became an Apple Distinguished Educator at the beginning of this year. I teach 4th grade math and science, but I've been using Seesaw since I taught 1st grade and 2nd grade. So I love using Seesaw with my students, and I'm also reaching out and doing some co-moderation with the Global Math Task Tech Challenge with 24, and I'm also a part of the 4th chat on Twitter. And I have my connections for Seesaw, or for Twitter and for Instagram here if you'd like to connect. One of the first posts that I do with my students in this year, I'm blessed to work at a Seesaw for School district. So my students come to me knowing how to do Seesaw. So the first post of the year is the can you find a fib for them? And so this year, my students used the Seesaw tools that were new, and they were able to learn how to add a background into their slides. They were using the text boxes, and coming from a Seesaw from School background, the students were like very excited to see that they had more screen to work with. They love the glow pen, and they really enjoyed being able to choose some of their fonts to go along with that. But their favorite thing was being able to add a picture of themselves into the post. So this new post, our first post of the year, was really something that just helped them learn all of the new tools that were available for this summer, and had the students introducing themselves as they were in new classes, and just a fun way of them being able to find the fib. And you can find this on my ambassador. If you click on the little find the fib link right there, it'll take you to the actual Seesaw activity where you can save it and share it with your students. You can also change it up if you want to change it up. But it's in the Seesaw community library. So I hope you enjoy that one. It has all the different activity directions for them. Then the next post that I have for you has to do with using our math talk and talking through what we know about math, and using some new tools that were available, like the record button. So students are like our favorite thing right now when we're talking about math is using that background that's the graph paper, so we can be precise with our numbers as we're writing them. And then once you click on the record button, students can then have access to a little arrow, and they can explain their thinking using this arrow. So if you listen, if you click on that little listen, you'll get to hear one of my students explaining her thinking. Well, maybe you can hear it, but really, as she's moving that arrow, you can hear her talking through how she knows that one is greater than the other. So that is the one of the things that we do with math. We do a lot of other things with math using that background. Their new favorite thing is to use shapes with the background, and they're starting the area model, so they're pulling in shapes and creating ideas with how to multiply using the area model and show their thinking. And then my last slide that I wanted to share with you was having students use that caption tool along with moving a label on their journal entry. And so this was a food chain activity that was available in the community Seesaw activity library, and I kind of modified it and added in the labels so that the students could actually move the labels instead of typing out the labels as Donna had it set up. And then the second thing that I added was asking them to work with this new captioning tool so that they could answer a question and actually use their thinking and their sentences to give a caption to their journal entry. And so those are my three small things that I love to do with Seesaw this year.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Heidi. I appreciate that. And I'm sure our viewers do as well. All right, welcome to our next panelist, Fran.
Hi, I'm Fran Yang, and I am coming to you from Marin County, just north of San Francisco, and just a quick ferry ride away from the Seesaw headquarters, which has been neat. I am also a Seesaw ambassador and have been for the last few years. I've taught in grades 1st through 5th for over 20 years, and currently I'm a curriculum coach, primarily in the areas of math and science, and work at integrating technology into those areas, and love Seesaw. We're a Seesaw school, so that our students also are able to build on their digital portfolios from kindergarten on up. You can reach me on Twitter at Marin Math Bridges, and I'm also a collaborative contributor with a couple of other teachers, our STEAM team at our school, on Instagram. So a few examples. Our very first post of the year, typically I go around and help every classroom at our school send home a first day of school video. And after that, I wanted to share with you one of the things that we are doing in the classrooms from K to 4, and that is really getting students very good at taking a photo, again, of their math, similar to what Heidi had talked about, and explaining their thinking as we're developing their math practice skills. So in this example, it's a good starting point of where they learn to add just a photo, and then using the microphone, they can talk about the thinking. In this example, we've got some third graders who are just being introduced to the distributive property. So they're using their hands-on tools, in this case, the rainbow tiles, creating arrays, showing how they would separate it into parts, and explaining their thinking. So we can take a listen to this.
Together did 5 rows of 2 and 5 rows of 3. And they used to be one array, but we split it so it would use the distributive property. So the first row has 2 on mine, and then it has 4, then it has 6, then it has 8, then it has 10. And then the one that, so the answer is 10. And then over on this side, the one that he made has, the first row has 3, then 6, then 9, then 12, then 15. So we added them together, and it equaled 25.
And I would say across the board, we're finding that our students are able to use those concrete manipulatives and take a picture and then move on to do it more digitally with the tools that are in Seesaw. So my example of an activity link here is one that you might use if you were doing a similar content. And it's a very similar lesson, but you'll look at the directions and see that they're using the digital tools and doing a similar activity. And you can, of course, copy and edit and change this as you would like. So that's my first example. The next example that I'd like to share with you is simply having students record a video to describe an idea. And this is wonderful with PBL and projects that are too large to perhaps keep in the classroom or are shared among 3 or 4 students, and you'd like all families to see what they've done and hear their thinking. In this example, we have some 4th graders who have been studying the Salton Sea and some issues around that. And we can take a listen to an example of how they've explained their prototype for a solution.
So this is our model of the amphibious truck that we're using for our Salton Sea project. And these are the vacuums that suck up dust. So the air quality isn't so bad. Then over here is the hose that sprays water, cats dirt down, and then if by accidentally this rolls over the dirt, it'll pack it down with it. Yeah. And here's an antenna. Here's a water source. Yeah, and the amphibious truck is able to go in water and on land. Yeah, and so we can drive it through the shallowest part of the Salton Sea to suck up all the dust from the side.
So again, I have a link to an example of an activity that you could assign that's pretty open-ended that you could use for various projects that you want them to take a picture of and explain, which again, you can utilize this activity and or copy and edit it as you wish. The last example that I have here is having the students use the create a drawing to demonstrate their understanding of math. And we use this in a lot of areas. In this activity or this example, I assigned a word problem that they were looking to explain equal groups by creating their tape diagram and explaining their thinking. The one thing that I really like about this one is this year with the new Seesaw tools, we've been able to use our Chromebooks more along with our iPads. We have iPads K2 and primarily Chromebooks in 3rd and 4th. And so this is an example that a student did on the Chromebook. So they're getting used to kind of drawing and things like that. And I think he'll find that labels might be helpful. But I'd love for you to listen to this example of explaining his thinking about a word problem and using the tools.
Echelon there are 7 shampoo bottles in each row, and there are 6 rows. How many bottles are there altogether? So our multiplication equation is going to be 7 times 6 equals something. So we can model a tape diagram. And we know that there are 7 in each row, and there are 6 rows. So count-wise aren't going to be very helpful, since we know that there are 7 in each row. That 7 in that row is right there, but there's also 7 in all the other rows. See, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. So we could use a pretty good strategy. So if we know 7 times 3 is 21, then
So you can kind of see how Seesaw allows him to explain his thinking a little bit more thoroughly. And with the background noise, what we found is that the retro phone microphones have been very helpful in cutting some of that out. So we've bought a lot of those across the grade level. So those are my examples, and I hope you enjoyed them. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Fran. And finally, we have Brenda.
Hi there, I'm Brenda Morrow. I live in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. I'm a teacher in Haddon Township, which is right outside of Philadelphia. If any of you were lucky enough to attend Seesaw Connect this year, you got a chance to visit my lovely little elementary school. I've been a teacher for 34 years. I've spent 19 years in 4th grade, and currently I teach 5th grade. I've been using Seesaw for quite a while, almost since the beginning. I'm a Seesaw ambassador, and we also are Seesaw for Schools. You can follow me at iTeach5M on Twitter, and I also included my Seesaw blog for some of you that might be interested in seeing how we use that and share things in our classroom. I also included the link to my Seesaw activities library if you'd like to share any of the activities I have in there. So we'll head to my first post. So I took a little twist on the traditional take a selfie, and we start the year by taking a walk in our shoes. So everyone takes a picture of their shoes, and after we've talked about all the neat things that we're going to do in our classroom during the year, the children use the picture and label tool and write down some of the things that they're excited about, and I share those with our parents at back to school night. So you can modify this activity to make it anything you'd like, but we're a small little school, so those are things that everyone is excited about, and it's a great starting point for parents at home to talk to their children about. And there's the picture that then I include in my back to school night presentation. Another little twist at back to school night, I had all the parents send their children a message. The kids logged into their Seesaw accounts, and our parents tried to send their kids messages through Seesaw. So that was a fun experience for parents as well. My next activity is borrowed from Tara Martin's Book Snap, any of you that are familiar with her Book Snap idea. So instead of sharing your ideas or marking them on a Post-it note, I have the kids in my class snap a photo of a part in the book that they want to share. It's so much nicer because we can't lose it. They snap it, they use the label tool, the highlight tool as well, and then they share their thinking. As the year goes on, we add voice to this, the caption tool, and it's just a great way for me to do a quick check of their thinking and understanding of what's going on in our room. My last example, there's also a link to that. My last example was to try out the new feature with all of the things that were added, where students can add multiple pictures. So we were reading The One and Only Ivan, and my students were researching gorilla facts. And this student in particular decided to do his research and show all of his work totally in the Seesaw app, using the tools, using the designs. We talked about text features. So if we click on that link, we should be able to hopefully see uh, his entire project. And if you go through the slides, you can just see he added pictures. He loved doing a little bit of the drawing tools, using all the different kinds of features. And he was thrilled that he could use Seesaw for the entire project and incorporated pictures from outside, all different kinds of things. So those are just a sample of some of the things that I use in my classroom. And feel free to follow or check out any of the activities and use them in yours.
Thank you, Brenda. You all were amazing. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure that our audience does as well. If our audience has any questions, now is a really great time to live audience members to type them up in the question box, and we can get your questions answered by our panelists here. So if there's anyone out there who has a question right now, if you wouldn't mind typing it up. I see them coming in. All right. So I believe it was Fran who shared the example of Chromebooks. Correct, Fran?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can help answer this question. It says,
Sure.
is there any trick to using Seesaw on Chromebooks?
So Chromebook use with the Seesaw has become much easier this year with some of the updates. So we were trying in previous years and it was a little bit more difficult, but right now my biggest tip is to just let the kids log in and they'll find that it's pretty user friendly. They're able to do the labels very easily. They're able to record their voice and do a lot of the activities on the Chromebook just like they would have on the iPad. And I think if you just jump in and let them try, they will find it pretty user friendly on the Chromebook.
Are most of the students working on a touch Chromebook? Tina was asking.
No, we do not have a touch Chromebook. So they're used to touch screen iPads in K2, and this is the first year where we said, well, let's use what we have in the classroom, which are the Chromebooks, and see how it goes. And the kids really transitioned very well.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. The next question here, it says, when creating my own Seesaw activity, how do I get the Seesaw icons to include in my instructions? I tried to copy and paste, but it didn't work. So maybe Heidi can field this one for us.
Sure. Yeah. Seesaw has this great little section in the Seesaw Help that has like a code to include the little icons. So when I'm typing up my activity directions, I use the colon and then the word the check, like colon CHECK and then a colon. And then when you actually save that activity and share it with your students, then the green check mark comes up. So if you go to the Seesaw Help and you look for those codes, you'll find a multitude. I think there's even like a bookmark that you can print off, and it has all the different codes that are similar to writing like an HTML code, but very simplified. So the colon add puts in the plus sign, the colon pencil puts in the pencil sign, the colon I want to say it's a camera, puts in the camera sign. So there's this whole bookmark that I just keep beside me. And when I'm typing out my directions, I use those codes.
Great, thank you. Hopefully that helped answer the question. She says, thank you so much. All right, here's one for Brenda. Since you were mentioning incorporating parents, Brenda, what's the best way to get all the parents on board, like signed in, being connected, being involved? Do you have any tips on that?
So I usually send out an email to everyone with the QR code. I do that before back to school night. And then at back to school night, I also make sure that that code is on the desk if they haven't already signed up. And then I usually get the kids on my case, and that way, we post things, and the kids usually go home and say, Mom, Dad, you need to sign up. And that's the way we usually get almost 100% involvement with our parents. So I just keep sending that invite, keep sending that QR code home until I get everybody on board with me. And it was
Heidi
really
or
fun to let
Fran?
them try it at back to school night
Yeah,
with the iPads. So that was also an incentive to get them to join and be on them.
right. Heidi or Fran, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, we do like an economy in our classrooms. So a lot of times I'll send out challenges through Seesaw using the different tools, like when you post for the parents, and then the students get those challenges at home for extra quote unquote cash. And so it's just optional challenges. And once the kids start talking about it, then they'll go home. If they're not already connected, they'll go home, and it's more than likely that they'll have their parents connect them.
And I would echo the sentiment that when the kids go home and ask their parents if they've seen or if they've heard a post that they've made, that's very motivating. And at our school, since it's a Seesaw for Schools site, I print out all the letters for teachers to send with their students in the younger grades, and then usually by first or second grade, all the families are hooked through Seesaw, and then I would just help teachers print out the few letters that they need to send home hard copy for the students that aren't yet connected.
We also use Seesaw for Schools and send a lot of our announcements home through Seesaw. So that's a real incentive to our parents to sign up, because it's an easy way for them to get school announcements as well as things that are happening in their child's classroom.
And I can speak for free Seesaw. We did not have Seesaw for Schools at my school. We still do not, unfortunately, for us. But even getting middle school families connected last year, I had 122 students, and 120 of them were connected in 7th grade. They still want to be connected. And again, I think as much of that, we'll call it incentive that we can give our students to get their families connected, it really does work, and it helps, and then the parents are grateful for that. So thank you everyone for helping field that question. One more question I think we can handle here today. What's the best way to organize work in the digital journals? Does anyone have a best way? I think there's different ways you can do it, but have a way that really works for you or any teachers that you're with.
I'll start with that one. I am really specific about the folders that I use in my classroom. When I first started, I was very generic and had just math or language arts, and I'm real specific about what I name the folders. It'll be like chapter 2 math, or it'll be exit tickets for math lessons. I'll have our art teacher has a folder. I have tons of folders, and that makes it easier for me and for the kids to go back and find posts. So that's my best advice. Be really specific with your folders.
Great. Heidi, do you have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, that's how I do it right now, is with the folders. And actually, math, I use the standards. So we put a math standard, and then the students put their work in that math standard. So that's the best thing. Brenda's got it on point.
Great. Awesome. Well, we want to respect everyone's time. This was a 30-minute webinar, and I think we've hit our mark. If you have any additional questions or feedback, you are welcome to pop that in the feedback that survey that's going to pop up, especially that feedback. We're always striving to make our professional development better for you. If you are watching this webinar through a recording, please make sure you write down the last 3 digits of our code, which is 735. And if you're watching it live, look for that email coming with your certificate of completion, the recording, and all the slides. Again, I'd like to thank our amazing panel, Heidi, Fran, and Brenda. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing your activities, your advice, and just giving us a little peek into your Seesaw classrooms and schools. And don't forget to also connect with any of us as well as any of the Seesaw community through Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And since you're here for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, you probably see some of us within those individual Facebook groups as well. There's a 3rd grade teachers, a 4th grade teachers, and a 5th grade teachers Seesaw group in addition to the whole big Seesaw teachers group. And if you have questions, help.seesaw.me is your answer to those questions. There are so many things you can search for: help tickets, reference videos. I mean, that amazing, we're creating the activity, the resource out there for all those icons, that's in there as well. So I'd like to thank again Heidi, Fran, and Brenda for joining us. My name is Kara Brim, and we hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day.